Good morning, everyone. It's Randy Goodman here from Harvey Callis Real Estate, and I am excited to be here with my friend David Cohen, who is an author, a business coach, and a podcaster, and I can't wait to chat with you about everything you're doing to help people. So thank you, David, for being with me.
Thank you, Randy. Good morning, everybody, on this Monday morning.
Well, I'm super excited to have you, David. We've known each other a long time now, and, I've watched your transition through the years. It's just been so incredible. But first, tell us a little bit about what do you do today? How do you help people? What do you do? What are you up to?
What am I up to? 5'10", apparently. No, what am I up to? I'm up to rebranding my coaching practice and launching a small business podcast and possibly a radio component to it. As you know, the game of podcasting, Randy, so you've got to change with it and position yourself in a way that's going to draw, viewers and listeners and whatnot. So I'm working on those two things. And the other kind of cool thing since this sort of situation we're all in started is on Facebook. I launched a group called the Peace, Passion, and Prosperity Project, and it's empowering entrepreneurs to make a difference. And that's kind of where I'm going in my work too. So
Nice.
I did a really cool peace initiative in the summer, and I'm really proud of that work. And it's going to be a part of what I'm doing moving forward. Just that entrepreneurs can make a difference and affect positive change on the planet. So that's kind of where it's going.
That's awesome. You've always done things to help others. I can see it's just a trend with you. It's always been a passion of yours, even if it wasn't, like I'm talking about things that weren't meant to make money, right? Like just pure giving and helping people. And so is this something that was always inherent in you, or, did you develop this over the years?
That's a really good question. I think it's inherent in me, but don't get me wrong. I like to make money, and I feel like we all should be rewarded for our work and the value we bring. So, but at the end of the day, that you ever get that question, like, what would you do if, money was no object? I would be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I hear you. Sorry, I'm trying to do this on Facebook and, and talk to you at the same time. We got to share, so
to take on a Monday morning. You should have done this on Tuesday,
So tell us, David, is this something you always thought you would do in your life, or like, what did you start off thinking you were going to become, and tell us a little bit about the journey to get here.
That's another good question. I remember as a kid or teen or whatever, or young man, advertising. I wanted to be an account exec because I don't know. I remember meeting somebody in the advertising world, and it just seemed kind of exciting. And then you find out the truth of it, long hours, low pay, that kind of thing. And I actually did that. I was an account exec in radio for a few radio stations.
Wow.
In the beginning days. And then I was a sales rep in the promotional products business, or as we, the tchotchke industry, right?
Yep.
Or trinkets and trash, as some people refer to it. So I did that for a number of years, and then got into training and coaching. That's where I found my groove. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so your journey to like developing all these different venues to help people or to give back to society, where did they stem from?
It just kind of flowed over time. So the coaching training business started, I did landmark education.
Okay.
Did you do that at all?
Nope.
Okay, you.
Read lots of books, no landmarks.
Yeah. So we know people that have done it, and I
Yeah.
did Mark in the late '90s, and it turned me on to teaching and coaching, and then I went for it. Like I shifted out of that marketing promotions business into training and coaching, and then I worked in that field for a couple of years, and I was working with Centennial College Center for Entrepreneurship, and I had a manager. She and I didn't really see eye to eye, so it was best to let go. I was let go, and
Okay.
for a few weeks, you're kind of thinking, "Oh man, now what?" Right?
Right.
And then I took a vision workshop with my colleague Kim Chernecki, and it was a weekend retreat, and it was great. And I thought I declared in that retreat, I'm going to do this and this, and I was going to start my own coaching training practice and start the radio show that I used to do for
Right.
small business. And that was May 5th. By August 17th, I had a couple of training contracts and private clients to coach. Um,
Well,
Another training initiative lined up for September. And on August 17th, which was a Saturday, I hosted my first ever Small Business Big Ideas radio show. And that lasted for 7 years, and then 2 years online after that, on and on.
wow.
So really, it just stemmed from, whenever you lose something,
Hmm.
your canvas is clear to create and paint something else, and that's what you have a choice. You can wallow in the misery, which I did for 3 weeks after
Right.
letting that go, or you can choose to create something new and exciting, and
Yeah.
and do what you want, are passionate about doing, and that was a big part of the journey. Yeah.
So I have a couple questions about that. One, I want to know a little bit more about the business pod or the business show, the radio show you did, and what was the purpose of it. And then also, I want to touch on the mind shift because that's huge. And I know a lot of people out there, especially right now, could be going through something similar. And I'd love for you to touch on that if you're okay with that. And thank you for sharing that. First, tell us a little bit about the radio show and why it was created, and then we'll touch on the mind.
So radio had always been a passion of mine, and as I mentioned, I worked in sales end of it, in the business side. And I used to produce a show here in Toronto called Mr. Destiny with my colleague Alan Mayer. And it was a talk show. It was kind of like when we were on Mr. Destiny on 640 Toronto, and then he got let go from 640 because that's what they did back then.
Right.
And we went to CFRB, and it was called Radio for the Soul. So it was kind of like a chicken soup for the soul, but on radio. And,
Okay.
and so I really like, personal growth and having done Landmark and personal growth and spirituality and success and whatnot. And I thought, okay, now's my time. I just lost my job. I might as well do something I really love to do. And so when I declared it in that vision workshop I had mentioned, yeah, it was just sort of like I wanted to see what I could do with it. And so I pitched Toronto stations, but to no avail because like
Okay.
with no experience, no broadcast experience. And honestly, Randy, if you heard the show in the beginning, I sounded like a 16-year-old kid on Kids World, on Global TV, and it was really brutal. And then
Right.
yeah, I got better at it, right? So I approached a station out in Oshawa, Durham region, called CKDO, because I remember my neighbor used to work at the FM side of that station, and this was an AM station. And I approached them, and they said, "Yeah, you can have the hour, and here's how much it costs." And I went, "Okay." I should have negotiated, but that's another thing. And that's it. It was just sort of like, oh, he said yes, I better get to work. So the whole summer, I called on 125 possible advertisers. I
Wow.
got people to say yes. I got rejected 120 times,
Right.
and I just kept going. And it was like,
Yeah.
and by August 17th, the show was launched, and it was a passion. And truthfully, Randy, like I know when I did my last show, we made a difference.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because you really never know how much of a difference that you've made. You
Yeah.
know, not everybody's going to call you up and say, "Hey, you made a difference in my life," right? But you know, like even hearing one of them, even if one person comes forward and tells you something, you know, if one came forward, it's like having, sorry to use this as a, I'll use mice instead of cockroaches, but you know, if you see one, more than likely there's zillions of them behind hiding somewhere, right? It's the same kind of thing. Right?
We never had like really good ratings at that station.
Okay.
For all like the ratings, but I always told my producer, if we can help one person today, we did a good job.
Listen, regardless of the ratings of the station, you still made a huge impact. So,
Yeah.
you know, you've always made an impact on me. So at least there's definitely one out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks.
so you are clearly showing a shit, like um, a common occurrence with yourself as far as, you know, encountering things that could let you down or make you feel down, and somehow you are resilient and you just keep bouncing back up. What is it in you that makes that happen? Like, just for people to hear, like, there's probably lots of people listening or watching this that are the same way, that can, you know, bounce back, deal with it, get through it, bounce back. There's other people that really have a hard time with that. Can you tell us a little bit about what goes through your head and your life at those times, and what helps you bounce back and say, "Hey, I can do this," and you go on to the next project?
First of all, I think you have to feel the feelings and not be afraid to feel them.
I agree. Yeah.
And just if you have to go through a dip, go through it. It's quite normal.
Hmm.
Um, but then, you know, if it lasts too long, like a month or weeks, then you really got to see help and get some people on board with you. Um, but you know, the old expression is one door closes, another one opens, and I think you know it's a good sort of thing to think about. That okay, just because one door is closed doesn't mean there's nothing, you know, there's nothing else available.
You're right.
Much available to you to do and create and to be, and and just like if you want to shift, you gotta shift by yourself, and you have to choose what you want and go for it. You know, you have one life.
Yeah.
You only have one kick at this can, and you better give it a really good kick. You know?
I agree. I agree. You know, and I think it's really important for people out there to get that message. You know, just because you're kicked down once or you're let down once or something fails, it doesn't mean the entire world or your entire life is a failure. You know, it's just, you tried, you take the lesson from it, and you go forward and you attack the next thing full force, get the right people around you supporting you, and go for it, right? Like,
Yeah,
don't let it discourage you.
yeah, exactly. And it can and it will, and you have to again, you have to feel that, and it's
And
okay.
yep, I
And
love that.
but journal it out, scream it out, scream into a pillow. I do walks every morning. Didn't go today because we're doing the show.
Mhm.
Walks every morning, and I do what's called tree therapy. I've been doing it for a few months during the pandemic, and I take my hands, I put it on a tree, and I blow it out. I blow all my anger, and I go in my anger. I'm blowing like I'm having a baby, but I'm not, because if a man had a baby, you know, it would be game over. You know, we get a
You'd make lots of money,
oh, oh,
get really famous.
yeah, we would. I had a baby. And I can show you how. Sign up for my podcast or my
That's this tree.
anyway. I do this tree therapy, and I just blow all my angst, my anger, my sadness, my grief, and I blow it out into the tree, and then I hug the tree and I thank it after,
Oh,
right? Because I'm grinding all my stuff. So it's really important to work on your emotions and let them go. Write letters. I also write letters to people that I'm not too happy about. And then I don't send them. I
Right.
get it out and then I burn them. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I let you go with love, right? Let
Yeah.
it. So feel the feelings, get them out, and then center yourself. Get some good people around you to brainstorm about new ideas and connect inside with yourself. Have that quiet time or meditation time to think what could be next? What can I do next? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the answers will come. I guarantee you. The universe wants to support you. The universe wants you to be rich, and it's our birthright to be in joy and happiness. Yet we think, because of our beliefs, maybe when we were kids, we think that's not true. When I was a kid, this happened, and like my parents said money was the root of all evil. So it is, right? It's
Right.
not. It's not.
Yeah. I love that. I have a good friend who loves to, she has her favorite tree and
Mm,
goes and hugs her tree, and it
awesome.
just like totally centers her, calms her, grounds her. She just loves her tree. And, so I love that. And then just being with a coach or, um, not a therapist, but coach, acting as a therapist, I guess,
Yeah,
said the same thing, write things down in a letter, all your true, whatever words you want to use, blah, 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 and then take it out and burn it,
yeah.
like, so, I mean, there's so many different ways for people. You guys just got to find the way that works for you or work with somebody who helps you find the
Mm,
way that works for you. But I totally agree with you. You have to work through the feelings. You can't ignore the fact that they're there. Like, don't just brush them aside, but you got to work through them, accept them, deal with them,
yeah.
and then move on, or else you just keep carrying them from one thing to the next. And I really agree with, what you're saying there, and dealing with it. And then it allows you to clear the air and move on and have success or go after the next thing that you want, and, put full energy into it.
Yeah.
So I love that. But David, tell us a little bit more. Like, tell us exactly how do you help people so that the person who's listening and watching this can say, okay, yeah, David's the one that I want to work with. How do you help people? What do you do for them? And what might they be thinking and feeling right now where they should be reaching out to you?
Um, I'm not better than anybody else because I do what I do. That's number one. Number two is I'm just a guide, and I'm on this journey of life just like anybody else. So, there's no separation between us. But what I will do is I'll share my experience, like we just shared what we shared. That was a powerful share. We just shared about how we deal with our emotions and our feelings. It's really important.
Yeah.
So share, ideas, my creativity, my inspiration. And I'll give you an example. So I'm doing a little mentorship work with some youth entrepreneurs. And there was one young lady I coached back in July, I guess, early July or end of June. And she's doing art therapy for people who've gone through trauma. What a beautiful idea, right? And I just had watched a documentary about these musicians go into prisons, both men and women, and they help prisoners create music and to create a song that they will perform to get out their life
All
on
right.
free music. And then I had just seen another sort of mini documentary on this woman that's in prison, and reminding the prisoners that they're more than their circumstances.
Mm,
Really powerful work.
mm,
So I asked her, I said, one group you could call on for this is the prison system, especially like she's a young entrepreneur, youth detention centers. How do you approach them about going in and teaching these, youth in the detention centers about art and how they can maybe express their feelings and emotions in a more positive way. Similar to what we were just sharing,
yep.
you go into there and she said, "Oh my God, did you know that I was a Um, I have a background in paralegal,
Hmm.
and it just all of a sudden the light bulb went off for her, and now she's going after that field as a
Right.
possibility for her client.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like that. It's just like I'm brainstorming, using all my resources, my contact knowledge, who you can talk to, who you can, um, you know, what you can do to advance yourself and keep moving forward and be successful. So that if that's something you want, then it's really, I call it, creative growth strategies for small business. And growth strategies could be just what we said. Maybe you need to dump your anger or your frustration out on a tree or a pillow, or do screaming, whatever. So yeah, that's kind of what I would think.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's, people need someone, one that they can just fully feel comfortable to open up to and brainstorm, mastermind, whatever you want to call it, and figure out, like, you know, is this the direction for me? How do I go about doing it? What kind of connections do I need? And you're like a hub for all of that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
To bring people together to show them on the right path to help them with their success. And
Right.
you've been helping a lot of people for a long time. And definitely anybody looking for that kind of support should definitely reach out to you.
Yeah.
But David, like, there's so many facets to you. Um, you also, I know it's important to you to give back to society. Tell us a little bit about what you've been involved with throughout your life. And
Um, the first uh, group I used to do a lot of volunteer work with was the Kids Help Home Foundation, and that's my go-to charity actually. And I wasn't the person who answered the calls. I did a lot of fundraising efforts for them. And then now it's more about mentoring youth entrepreneurs. So I've got a roster of four young people that I'm mentoring, and I just love it because the sessions are magical. And then I'm taking on another two more, and I think I'm going to be capped at that. So it's a good 6 hours a month, and yeah. So that's kind of where I'm spending some of my time. And then this piece, Passion Prosperity Project, is also a bit of a give back. It doesn't make money, but I want to inspire people and get people thinking, hey, let's be inspired. Let's be inspired to make change. So I put my group page on Facebook, stories that are uplifting, rather than the news stories that we watch every day.
right.
So this is about uplifting and making change, and adding, some positivity to the planet. So that's sort of a give back project too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And thank you for giving back. And I think the youth are a really important segment of people to reach out to, because you're really hitting them while they're learning and while they're growing, and it's fresh in their mind. And, when you get to our age, we're kind of set in our ways. It's a little more difficult to reprogram ourselves if we need to or want to. And I think when you're catching them at the youth stage, you're catching them, at those initial stages where they're absorbing, they're growing, they're picking up on things. And if you're feeding them the right information, then you hope they're going to live their best life possible,
Yeah,
right? And maybe even, avoid some of the situations we've experienced, right? Just
exactly.
because we've given them the tools and resources that maybe we didn't have
Yeah,
at those ages. And so thank you to you too for doing that.
thanks. And Brandy, when we were that age, we didn't have mentors like we do.
Yeah,
So I like this mentor model. I think we should all have a mentor.
I agree. Even coaches should have coaches. Everybody needs to have the right people around them, regardless what level you're at, what stage you're at, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah,
know, it really doesn't matter. You need to have the right people around you supporting you. It does take a village, no matter what. And I know a lot of solopreneurs will think they can do it on their own, and then they end up spending time learning things where they could have um, dish that out to someone else who's an expert in that area. And so they can spend more time on what they're good at, right? Which is a strong message too. And, people like you can help them sort all of that out. So anybody out there who's looking for any kind of support, definitely reach out to David and see how he can support you. So like, you're such a wealth. What?
I said, and you get percent. Okay.
And I don't want a percent, but thank you. You are such a wealth of information. Can you give everybody, like, whatever's resonating with you right now, personal, professional, give them any tips or suggestions you can think of that you think would have an impact?
If there's something inside you wanting to be born, like a new business, a new idea, go for it. Now, there's no better time. It's almost like, like COVID's kind of reduced everybody to like, right? And so the best time to create is then, because like, oh, what do you have to do? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, do it, go for it. You got a dream, a goal, go for it. Like now is the time. Now is the time. There's no optimum time, There's
Right.
no time in life or society where like everything's going to be perfect. There isn't. The perfect time is now. Do it now. And if you're afraid of it, just take a step and then take another and then another and another and do what needs to be done this week. And then next week, do what needs to be done. If you just like I used to teach the business plan boot camp with the city of Toronto Enterprise, and I went in once a month, and everybody took that program where, oh, business plan, I hate it, so long. It scares me. It's like, no, no, no. Like, don't let it scare you. Chip away at it. Do like a half hour a day. If you did a half hour a day, at the end of about 4 or 5 weeks, you got a pretty nice business plan. And it only took you a half an hour. So
Right.
just take those little steps and birth that new idea, make it happen, and take steps and reach out, to people like you. You're like uber connected too, and like that's how we kind of met, was through your beautiful trade show, So, and the work you did with women, and yeah, it was amazing. And
Thank you.
yeah, so just reach out.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's true, because you don't want people to get totally overwhelmed and then they don't do anything, right? But if they just do that one little thing, itty bitty little bit, right, at a time,
Yeah.
don't overwhelm yourself. Just take a step to go forward. And I love that message. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, David, how can people find you? How can they reach out to you?
Well, I'm about to change my website. I just registered it. I'm creating big change at the end of the year. And
Good.
it'll be called mybigventure.com. I just registered it yesterday,
Okay.
and so I'm really excited about that. And my tagline is changing the world one entrepreneur at a time.
Nice.
Pretty excited about that too. So if they want to reach me though now, it's I'm at the David Cohen Group. So you see my name on here, just add and then group.com. And my email is on there, or just add me on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, add me there. I'm not on Instagram. I was, but I just I don't have time for all this. I got work to do. Yeah.
Well, you'll just be so big, you'll have a huge team doing it all for you anyway.
There, like you, Randy.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Well, that's awesome, David. And of course, when I share the page on the website, it'll have all your contact info there as well. So people can easily find you and reach out to you. So thank you so much for sharing with us. It's been such a pleasure.
What a nice way to start a Monday morning too. Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure.